Hey, what's up? It is time for NorbCam NFL news. Breaking news this morning was that regarding Tom Brady and the Deflategate case, that the U.S. Court of Appeals reversed the decision about the Tom Brady suspension and reinstated it, basically putting him back on the 4-game suspension to start out 2016. Now, from their there's a 33-page decision that was posted online, but the basic gist of it is, as I'll read from it here, we hold that the commissioner properly exercised his broad discretion under the collective bargaining agreement and that his procedural rulings were properly grounded in that agreement and did not deprive Brady of fundamental fairness. Accordingly, we reverse the judgment of the district court and remand with instructions to confirm the award. Now, if you recall, the reason this was appealed was Brady had won the initial ruling by District Judge Richard Berman, where he said, quote, that the court finds that Brady had no notice that he could receive a 4-game suspension for general awareness of ball deflation by others, end quote. So this was never really about cheating. This was never about whether inflating balls gave Tom Brady an advantage or not. This was all about following protocol and whether the protocol was fair in terms of knowing the consequences of his actions. And so in this case, the appellate court or the Court of Appeals basically ruled in favor of the NFL, saying that it was fair and that he did not need to have specific wording about the 4-game suspension, that it was a fair consequence based on the rules established by their collective bargaining agreement. So at this point now, Brady has three options. One, he could just accept the penalty, and everybody moves on. Or he could petition to have the court rehear the case, or appeal to the next level, the last level, which is basically the U.S. Supreme Court. Personally, I hope they don't, because I think too much time and resources have been spent on this already. But I would understand why he would fight this, and there's two reasons why. One is, I think that's just the way he is. He's not going to take this sitting down, and I think he would try to defend this to the very end if whatever means are possible. And secondly, when you think about it, the longer he can delay this in court, it gains every advantage to him because he has time on his side. I mean, look at last year. The appeal basically gave him an extra season without a penalty. And imagine if the Patriots had actually won and made it to the Super Bowl and won Super Bowl 50 last year. Then it would have just been another opportunity that was given because they fought back against the case and could have potentially won Super Bowl 50, and with no real ramifications, because that's just how long these legal proceedings take. So, and the fact that Tom Brady is at the end of his career, I shouldn't say the end, nearing the end of his career, and every year counts now, as opposed to somebody who's starting out, in their 20s and has over a decade or so left. Every year is kind of important now. So every year that he can delay this judgment is going to give him and the Patriots that much more of an opportunity to have a shot at winning every season. So if he can delay this appeal and delay this 4-game suspension, well, that's another 4 games he wouldn't have to sit out on to start out the 2016 season. I don't know what the delays would be if he were to appeal it to as high as the Supreme Court. But obviously, since the suspension is what it's all about, I'm sure they would delay it until they finally get a chance to hear the case. And who knows when that would be. So I expect this is not over and that he is going to fight this. Even if it, in the end, will be a losing battle, it'll still be a win because, imagine if this takes another year or two to finally get decided. What if Brady decides to hang it up after next year? What's it worth then? A post-retirement game suspension? I doubt that's going to be the case. I imagine he'll probably still play by the time they do rule on this, but, I'm sure they'll just continue to stretch it until there's no more room to stretch, because it's not like prison where you're sitting there in a cell while you're waiting to have your case reheard, he just continues to keep playing and doing what he does until they finally run out of options. So, yeah, the more I think about it, I just do not think that this is going anywhere anytime soon. So, but let's say in the scenario that it does happen. So the first 4 games he would not be able to play, and those first 4 games are against the Cardinals, the Dolphins, Texans, and the Bills. And he also has to he loses the 4 games pay, which is funny because this year it's not very much because he's only has a $1 million salary this year because of the way they restructured his 2-year extension with the Patriots. So really, 4 games on a $1 million salary, he's losing $200-something thousand. Big whoop for him. It's never about the money anyway. It's all about avoiding the consequences and not tarnishing his legacy. So at this point right now, he is guilty of it as the current verdict stands. And I don't know how you guys feel about this. This is seemingly old news now. It seems like an eternity ago since this whole thing came up. But I guess if you feel like the 4-game suspension was justice and punishment for what he did, well, then you can kind of celebrate today that, well, maybe one more victory towards a proper verdict was ruled here. But if you are a fan of the Seahawks, you may feel good that he got punished, but it doesn't really help us this year. In fact, it kind of hurts us if this 4-game suspension stands. And the reason why is because the Cardinals have the first game on the schedule. And of course, Cardinals fans are celebrating because that means they're going to potentially face a no Tom Brady opening game, which gives them a slight competitive advantage to win that one. And of course, when we play them after our short Monday night week in Foxborough, we will be facing the same Tom Brady that's going to be out, probably really pissed off to, in response to this. And so it doesn't help us one bit as a team. And it just gives the Cardinals one more game possibly that as our number 1 NFC West contending rival gets an advantage here. So it really kind of hurts the Seahawks fans and the Seahawks and consequently the Seahawks fans in the process. But that's one, if it happens, and 2, if assuming that is going to be a reason why Arizona wins that game. They could still lose. It's football, you never know. But it's also good for the AFC East. Dolphins fans and Bills fans, have a moment to celebrate, thinking, well, maybe there's one more chance they can get an edge up on the team that's dominated the East all these years. And for Texans, since they're going to be debuting their new expensive quarterback, I'm sure they would like to have any chance to maximize his start with the Texans, Brock Osweiler, who they got from the Broncos. So that's my take on it. Personally, how do I feel about it? I believe he was guilty of what he did. So I believe he's, he should serve some punishment for what it is. So I am happy that the verdict, has once again swung in the favor of, of him breaking the rules. Because I feel like if you are, as a team or an individual, break rules and you're caught doing it, then you should serve the punishment. Simple as that. Now, whether I'm not going to get into the argument as to whether the inflated balls gave him an advantage in this game or that game or how long he's been doing it, but fact is, it was happening, and it was shown and measured to be happening, and so again, and there were rules in place saying that you're not supposed to tamper with the balls. So if everybody else is following the rules and someone else isn't, well, there should be punishment for that. So, so I personally emotionally was over that after, after the first judge ruled in Brady's favor. I kind of was just done with that whole case because, again, time has moved on. But part of me does feel a little bit of satisfaction in that regard. But we'll see if this has an effect on 2016's season, assuming that the suspension is held up. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm sure we'll be finding out pretty soon as to whether he's going to take this punishment or fight it. The other interesting news today that broke today was Sam Bradford, the current starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, formerly of the Rams, is apparently not happy with the situation in Philadelphia and is expressing his desire to be traded because of obviously all the moves that Philadelphia made to get the number 2 pick in the draft. And clearly they made that move to get themselves a quarterback. And if they're making a move to get a number 2 quarterback in the draft, well, where does that put Sam Bradford? Probably not in a very good spot, which I think is funny that they are still claiming that Sam Bradford is going to be their starting QB. But if you're drafting 1 or 2, that means you're getting a quarterback. And if you're getting a quarterback in the first or second position, you are going to be starting that quarterback. I don't care what you say about the other guy being your guy. So I think that's been a pretty badly mishandled situation. I'd be pretty frustrated if I was a fan over there. I mean, we went through our own bit of turmoil when we had paid a lot of money to get Matt Flynn here. And then when Russell Wilson, who was a 3rd-round pick, sort of earned his way to the starting position during training camp and preseason, there were a lot of people freaking out about that. And he was a 3rd-round guy who just sort of who just got brought in, really not a whole lot of expectation there, and earned the spot. And there were people already still freaking out about the fact that we had already invested this money in Matt Flynn. But so you can only imagine if someone was being brought in from this high in the draft class, that's how things would be obviously likely to play out. Now, as far as Bradford's concerned, I mean, he's kind of expressing his anger publicly, but he could react to it a different way and just fight for his job and prove that a number 1 draft pick of several years ago can be better than a number 2 draft pick from 2016. But I don't think he's that good. He hasn't proved himself in all those years with the Rams and even last year with the Eagles. I think it's pretty clear that he sees his pecking order over there in Philadelphia, and I'm sure he wants to get a starting job with somebody else. There's a lot of teams out there who would like to have a nice starting quarterback for them, and so I'm sure there'd be some takers out there. So he's playing it smart as far as maximizing his chances of not sitting on the bench. So we'll see what happens with that scenario. But that's it for now. So I'll keep you up informed. I will be at the Seahawks draft party on Thursday, which starts at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I will be live streaming that event on Facebook. So if you guys want to, you can follow me on Facebook. It's going to be a fun time, kind of documenting it real time, and I'll post it on YouTube after the fact. But if you want to catch it real time and comment in, just look me up on my Facebook page under NorbCam. And I will also be giving away a special prize that I'll be announcing in conjunction with Hunt's Plumbing and Mechanical, giving away a prize that will go to a lucky fan. But you got to tune in to find out how you can be eligible for that. Okay, that's it. We'll be back and talking to you a lot of stuff going on this week. Draft week. It's going to be fun. All right, go Hawks.